Hi guys, and welcome to this week's video. I'm in this rather splendid place. Let me give you the idea behind today's video. I'm in Berwick-upon-Tweed. I've been here for a few weeks, and while I was here I thought, why not take a picture of the lighthouse that's local. Looks brilliant, except there's one slight difference. I'm going to photograph the lighthouse right smack bang in the middle of the day. It's the last day of June. The weather is mixed, to say the least. There's some storms due in, the sun is shining, it's a little bit nippy, and the rain is on and off. But because it's the middle of the day and most of us will put our feet up, I know I have done for the past couple of weeks, and they'll always use the time of day, the light, the conditions, the weather, etc., as an excuse to not go out and take pictures. But I just thought I'm gonna take a couple of really simple shots of this wonderful pier. It's gonna be a little bit fine arty, but a few shots right smack bang in the middle of the day using various filters, just for the sheer hell of it. Just to see, I suppose, at the end of the day, can I create something nice at a time when most of us are usually chilling out for the day. Well, certainly landscape photographers anyway. By the way, wrong lens. As always, I'll try and bring you guys along as much as I can, but I'm going to keep filming fairly simplified. I don't have that much time. The wife's out in the van waiting for me, and you know what it's like. If I'm here for more than 15 minutes, she'll start moaning. Let me talk you through the reasons why I fancied coming here. I've got it in my head, and I believe it's probably a scientific fact, but when you use the word probably, it means that you're not 100% sure. The middle of the day offers you clouds that you never get during sunset or sunrise. Well, I'm convinced of that anyway. Maybe you guys can tell me otherwise. But you know, sometimes you go out and about in the middle of the day and you think, why don't I have detail in the clouds and cloud formations and skies like that when I'm normally out and about, i.e. sunset and sunrise? And today I have such a thing. So what I'm going to do is see, quite literally, what I can grab from today's location right in the middle of the day at high tide. So as always with me, I'm going to mix it up today. I'm going to have fast exposures, long exposures, but I'm going to keep the composition simple. Rules of thirds, going to place the lighthouse on the bottom right rule of third, leaving a bit of space off to the right hand side, and literally 2/3 of sky. And I might even, because I like the sky, aim up a bit more and uncomfortably so take that lighthouse off that bottom third, place it a little bit below, exaggerating how awesome the skies are. Right, so that's the composition I'm going for. I like that composition. So all I'm going to do now is take a picture. At a 6 stop, take a picture. 10 stop, take a picture. 15 stop, take a picture. And let's see what happens with the sea and that lovely sky. This is the situation. I want to encourage a long shutter speed, but let's leave it at ISO 100 f16. Bring up my histogram, and I'm going to end up with, I can comfortably shoot that at 60th of a second, but the sky clearly is super bright, so let's reduce some of that light down in the sky by placing my normal 0.9 soft grad filter. Okay, that looks good. So now I know I could comfortably shoot that at a 30th of a second. Make sure that's only in the sky. Yep, that's looking good. Okay, good start. 2-second delay, and away she goes. It's a nice picture. Nothing in the foreground, remember, I don't want to use anything in the foreground. I might play around with something, with some of the groins further to my right hand side. I might play around with some of the waves, but not at the moment. So now I'm going to experiment by changing shutter speeds. But I'm going to keep the composition and not move my tripod, not move the camera, unless I need to, because the tide, like I say, is still coming in. Right, encourage a longer shutter speed, ISO down to 50. I'm going to close my aperture to f18. I'm comfortable doing that. And I'm going to push my histogram as far as I can go, or as far as I feel comfortable. 1/10 of a second. Let's give that a go. Next, let's throw in my 6-stop filter. Good thing about playing around with a 6-stop filter is that you can do everything pretty much in the normal mode without having to go into bulb mode. All right, I'm just going to use my histogram in exactly the same way. Make sure nothing's overexposed. So you want to make sure there's no hot spots in that sky. I think I'm comfortable with that. 6 seconds. Let's pop that. Okay, that's awesome. 6 seconds. I can now start to see the sea flattening out, but some of the detail is maintained. In actual fact, what I will do is I will do the same thing again with a different composition, utilizing the waves that are breaking. Right, let's take my 6-stop filter out. So I now need to calculate my shutter speed before I place my 10-stop filter in the lens. Okay, as always, target figure is 1/8 of a second. I can manage that at f20, just about. 1/8 of a second translates to 2 minutes when I pop my 10-stop filter on. That's my normal calculation. 10-stop filter, 2 minutes, when I'm at 1/8 of a second. Pre-focused, focus to manual. Bulb mode, f20. Bulb timer. 2-minute exposure. The light's changing all the time. The sun has gone behind a thick black cloud, casting a shadow across the proceedings now. Completely different to what it was just a minute ago. Incredible, really. I don't know why we're not out and about during the day more often, because honestly, the detail when I look around in the sky is phenomenal, and you never ever see detail like that first thing in the morning or last thing at night. Well, I very rarely ever, if at all, have ever seen detail, clouds and skies like the skies I'm looking at right now. It's a lovely picture, but the clouds are very high and they're not moving very fast, so there's not much in terms of movement in the sky. Now let me talk to you about a 15-stop filter. And the minute you mention a 15-stop filter, people tend to switch off a 15-stop filter, but now is the perfect time to use a 15-stop filter. I'm not trying to advertise you rush out and buy yourself a 15-stop filter, but if you, like me, love long exposures, why not do it right in the middle of the day? Why not, like now? Because you can do with a 15-stop filter. Right, that's 2 minutes, and that's brilliant. Looks really, really cool. But what's the difference now when I add a 15-stop filter? Now I've added my 15 stop filter, I don't want to calculate how long I need to leave the shutter speed open whilst the camera is currently set at 1/8 of a second. It's way too long. So what I'm going to do now is reverse the workflow. In other words, I'm looking at my Nissi app. I know a 7-minute exposure with a 15 stop filter applied is at 1/80th of a second. So I'm going to revisit my original settings without any filters on, or without my 15 stop filter on. I'm going to set my camera to 1/80th of a second, so I now know that I need to be there to take a picture at 7 minutes when I apply my 15 stop filter. I hope that makes sense. So clearly I'm way too dark. So now I need to open up my aperture to let more light in, around about f8. I'm going to raise my ISO from 50 to 100. I might have to open my aperture a bit more. So in other words, I'm working in reverse. I'm setting my shutter speed where I need to be, which is 1/80th of a second. And now all I'm doing is calculating my aperture, or adjusting my aperture and my ISO according to my histogram. So it's almost like I'm setting it up in shutter speed priority. Obviously I'm not, I'm in manual. Right, that's it. So now my settings are ISO 100, f7.1, and 1/80th of a second. That's 7 minutes with a 15 stop filter on. 7 minutes. Really loved that picture. So what I've decided to do for a bit of artistic license, before I move and take another shot from another location or from slightly further back, oh, look at that. I've used a little bit of artistic license. I've thrown my camera into portrait orientation and I've dropped that lighthouse right down, probably to about 20 or 20% off the bottom, 80% sky. Fantastic, and that looks really cool, and that's something I very rarely do. I'm going to repeat that same process because those clouds really are streaking well with that 15 stop filter, but I'm going to replace the 15 stop filter with a 10 stop filter and change it from the 7-minute exposure I've just taken right down to a 2-minute exposure, just so we can see if there's any more detail in those clouds. Sometimes less is more. So it's all about experimenting with your photography, but more importantly, it's about giving yourself plenty of options later on, so you could choose what you like, what you don't like. You never know. Experiment, you just never know. That's so cool. Like I say, I'm getting really excited by that now. On the back of the camera, that looks amazing. Right, so gonna try one more experiment from here. What I'm gonna do now is just go a little bit further back, and I'm going to use the waves as foreground interest. I'll probably miss the beach out. I'll just use the breaking waves in the bottom half or the bottom third of the frame, just to add maybe a bit more interest, just to see if that'll spice the image up a little bit more. I'll repeat the same process. Normal shot, add a 6 stop, add a 10 stop, add a 15 stop filter. Let's see how that looks. Let me just talk you through my transition from my 10 stop filter to my 15 stop filter. Maybe I rushed it. I know some of you guys are really interested in that. So at the moment, I've just taken this image at 2 minutes with a 10 stop filter. So let's, first of all, remove my 10 stop filter. Let's go straight back to manual, and I'll talk you through the process. With my histogram in place, I'm on ISO 50 at a 20th of a second, and my shutter speed was at 1/8 of a second, as you can see there. 1/8 of a second translates to 2 minutes. So I've taken my 10 stop filter out, so now what I'm going to do is, I call this reverse engineering. I now need my shutter speed to go to an 80th of a second, which will translate to 7 minutes with my 15 stop filter applied. So the important part of this calculation is to put the most important part in first, which is the 80th of a second. Clearly you can see that's too dark. So now what I'm going to do is adjust my aperture, open my aperture up to add more light onto the sensor, and also I'm going to increase my ISO from 50 to 100. I can even afford to close that aperture down ever so slightly. So as you can see now, I'm adjusting the light hitting my sensor according to my histogram, but I'm not moving my shutter speed. My shutter speed must remain at an 80th of a second, because I know that translates to a 7-minute exposure when I apply my 15 stop filter. So there you go. I'm gonna go with that. Probably push it a bit more. F11, ISO 100 and 80th of a second. There you go. Focus back to manual. Drop my 15 stop filter in. I just need to remember F11. Bulb mode. Aperture back down to F11. Bulb timer now needs to be at 7 minutes. And 2-second delay. And away she goes. As simple as that. I've really enjoyed that experiment today. It's been a lot of fun. Middle of the day, a lot of sunshine around, as you can see, but a lot of decent looking, what I call decent looking clouds. A lot of detail in there, a lot of grunge. That's just fantastic. Hang on, 1 sec. I'll finish with you guys in a second. 1 second, because that is just immense. I have no idea. If this camera is picking it up. I have never seen a rainbow at that angle. Literally, it looks from here as if it's just lifting off the horizon by about 15 or so feet, no more than that. Just that angle. It's really incredible. I'm going to go over the other side of the lighthouse now and maybe grab 1 or 2 shots from there. And that's it. That's me done. It took me 9 minutes to get from one side of the water over to here, because you've got to drive through town and everything. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Lighting has completely changed and a rainbow is gone. Isn't that just typical? Looks fairly mundane from here. So I'm just going to take 1 shot, or 1 last shot. I've already taken 1 shot. Bit of an oddball composition, again lowering the horizon all the way down, just to try and make something of nothing, because I don't particularly like it from over here. But that's it. So do me a favor, just before we check these images out, help support the channel and give this video a thumbs up if you think the content is worthy of it. And I've got 1 or 2 bits and pieces in my back catalogue you might want to check out as well. And of course you can help support the channel even more by subscribing if you're not already a subscriber. Check these pictures out and leave a comment down below and let me know what you think.